Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome to another edition of Leader Versus. I am Leader, and tonight my opponent is the wonderful Roland V-Synth XT. Wow, this thing is awesome. If you're not familiar with the V-Synth series, it was a, I don't want to say short-lived, but relative, well, I guess in the world of Roland products, it had a reasonable amount of time on the market. But it was a very, very new at the time and very interesting concept for a synthesizer. And the essential concept here is samples and also built-in VA virtual analog. I'm going to go over the main specs here in a second, but I think the main thing that really keeps this in my arsenal and hopefully will never have to leave, I never intended for it to leave, is its very interesting vari-phrase sampling. Vari-phrase, V-A-R-I. I'm sorry, it might be vari-phase sampling. And what it does is essentially takes one, I did read where you can do two, but I'm not sure how to do that, but at least one sample and stretches it across the entire keyboard. Now, if you're familiar with samplers and you try to usually take one sound and stretch it across the keyboard, you're going to get the crazy chipmunk, wild Mickey Mouse sounds on the top, and on the low end, you're going to get these really deep, frightening sounds on the bottom. But somehow the magic of the vari-phase, or vari-phrase, I'm going to find that out here in a second, totally does it does a passable job by today's standards, a fantastic job for then standards, but honestly, the character it implies into it is amazing. I love it. I think it's perfect the way it is. I hesitate to say this because it sounds negative, but it almost has that kind of lo-fi quality you get from like an MP3 from back in the, what was it? Oh God, what was that software everybody used? Audio something, I can't remember what it was, but you used to download CDs back in the day and get 5 megabyte CDs, in terms of the quality, and it would sound like this kind of sort of warbly, but really light, not too much, and I feel like this has some of that, and honestly I love it. So anyways, let's go over the specs real quick. I wrote them all down here so that way I don't sit there and stumble a bunch. But what we have is a dual oscillator engine. It features up to 24 voice polyphony, and that is with a caveat. I'll talk about it more, but essentially the more stuff you're doing with it, the less it's going to be able to do, and less voices. And unfortunately, you do hit that. At least I have a couple of times not too easily, but when you're doing complex pads, for example, with long sustains and long releases, you can run into it. So yeah, dual oscillator engine. It has analog modeling, has some fantastic vintage Roland waveforms in there, some modern ones, some ones they consider high quality. They do sound a little bit richer, maybe, but it's not overly apparent. And a few other fun ones, including the Super Saw, which is, of course, the Roland must-have if you can. It does PCM, and this is the very phrase, so it's very phrase. It says, powered by very phrase technology for independent control over pitch, time, and formant. Includes 300 preset waveforms and supports user sampling, which was a huge deal. Yes, there was plenty of samplers out there doing that kind of stuff, but I don't know. This was really cool when it came out, and I was super. It took me years to get it. I did not get it when it first came out, but I was super excited about being able to load my own stuff in there because some of the preset samples are pretty awful. We'll go through some of them. But you could definitely hear the 90s and early 2000s in those samples. And some of them are a little bit external audio processing. So you do have a stereo in on the back. You also have a mic and single mono input on the front. It does act like a full-on effect station in this particular mode. So you could just basically pass your guitar or some other synthesizers through there and run them basically through the effects, which are pretty nice, especially for the time. They had to have been fantastic. They're still really good. Personally, I'd reach for probably a different reverb when I was really trying to make something really big and beautiful, but these ones do cut it. We also have modulation up the wazoo. So a big thing about it is you have all these pages down here, and we're going to go through this all very much more thoroughly. And I do apologize that it's a little janky. I got to install some plugins to let me distort the image in OBS because the way the angle is coming, it kind of looks a little off. But I did want to blow up the screen for you here because it's pretty hard to see there. And honestly, the screen quality is decent with my eyes, but it's hard to capture with a camera. It's an old LCD. Anyways, if you go to each page here, you will see you have at the bottom an LFO. So you have an LFO for the oscillator page. Oscillator 2 page has its own. Modulation page is kind of its own little beast. Very simple. You just select one of those 5. But you get to Cosms. We'll talk more about that. But this is where you're going to find filters and other things. Your TVA, which is, of course, your, what do they call it? Time variable amplitude? Time variant? I forget what it is. But Roland, for many years, and probably still to this day, has their own code words for an amp envelope. So you might see it as EG amp on most synthesizers, or just ENV amp. They call it a TVA. I believe it's time variable something. Anyways, you also have one for your effects stage. You don't actually have an LFO in here, I don't believe, but you do have a tab for the effects. So all in all, you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 LFOs. They do work in just those pages only, so they're kind of constricted a little bit. But you also get plenty of envelopes within this. So you've got these individual ones, like, for example, you can have an envelope controlling just oscillator 1, but this is not the main TVA or amp envelope. So you get a lot of these within here. Like, I mean, yeah, look at this. Every page has an envelope on oscillator. Almost every page. Even the LFO, no, sorry. So these 4 middle pages here, these are going to have it. All these are little envelopes here, ADSRs. Cosms have them. I mean, there are probably, God, if I had to guess right there, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You're probably looking at about 14, maybe 16. Plus the TVA, so 16, 17 maybe. Envelopes. I keep saying amp envelopes. Just envelopes, just to use for those particular parameters. So you can get pretty dang wild. Plus, if you come back to this comms page, you get even more stuff going on here. You got an arpeggiator. You've got a pattern editor that you can actually create a very custom sequence. It's a little difficult to work with this and slow, but once you get the hang of it, you can kind of move around a little bit, and you can create some amazing stuff. I actually wrote some really cool patterns in there that I really liked. You get, let's say, I'm going to go more off the script here, but I do want to just show a few more things. You can mess with the tune, not a big deal. The arpeggiator, we mentioned that. Matrix control, so this is a very awesome ability to set up MIDI controllers and other things internally to control different parameters, so kind of a modulation matrix here. You get the time pad, which we'll show here, time trip and XY pad. These are these are digital versions of what you would find in the keyboard. So I did not mention that. This is the second iteration of the V-Synth line. So it started with the V-Synth, which was a keyboard, did not have color screen, but essentially the same kind of setup. And you had like a nice full-on keyboard with some knobs, signs, all that kind of stuff. So they came out with this guy shortly 2 years after, I believe, and they beefed it up a little bit by adding some really cool stuff here, which I'm going to talk about shortly, but mainly it's the 2 expansion cards that are built in. Those are really cool. So in a nutshell, you actually have 3 full-on synthesizers built into this thing, and I really mean it. Like, they're totally separate individual synthesizers. I think I just realized that I'm getting a delay on my screen. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to come back because I messed that up. Excuse me for one moment. I'm going to have to drop the stream, unfortunately. Hopefully that is not going to ruin everything. I use an OBS bot camera. Did that fix it? No. Dang it. Okay. Hopefully I don't lose. Well, I got 1 viewer. Stick around. Hopefully I'll be back in just a second. Okay, well, it seems to have worked. Hopefully everything is not going to cut off into pieces here and I have to somehow assemble them together, but we're going to keep going. Hopefully it worked. It does look like I have my, okay, yeah. If I set up the camera that I use here with its settings menu, for some reason it creates like a 15-second delay. It can be very frustrating. So, amazing synthesizer. These are some digital controls for what's on the original and the GT, which came later. Basically, the big keyboard versions have physical controls that they did try to emulate on the digital touchscreen on here. So back to this guy. So Cosm processing. So we talked about this. This is these middle sections here. These offer effects. I'm going to try and bring that up. There we go. Various effects. Mainly, I'm going to find myself using these for the filter, which this is where you place the filter. So normally in a synthesizer, you're going to have a filter kind of pre-built into whatever your, whatever your chain of audio is. And then you usually have effects at the end, which this does have effects at the end as well. But Roland decided to basically allow you to do multiple things here. So you can do various simple kind of effects, like some basic distortion, you got a wave shaper, you got amps, speakers, resonator, which is really cool if you're trying to make some sort of like guitar or banjo patch. Various filters, and then a few other things like you got a compressor, limiter, you got a frequency shifter, you got lo-fi, and then lastly you do get their emulation of a 303 filter, which is pretty cool, I have to admit. I haven't done a lot of 303 on here because I've been happily blessed with the Behringer models, which are cheap and plentiful. But it does sound good. I've pulled up some patches where they've used it and I've listened and tweaked it. And I'm like, that actually sounds pretty good. So anyways, let's go back to this guy. We do have the Vari-Phrase sampling, which we talked about, the Cosm processing. So Cosm is kind of their own proprietary. It's actually, I got the name here. It's, no, I don't. Well, I thought I wrote it down, but it's their own kind of proprietary like emulator. I think, what do they do now? It's called what is that called now? I forget what they call it, but they got it. Oh, I almost had it. Zen Core, maybe. They've got a few things. And they have the ACB, which is their analog component something or other. It's basically them just trying to emulate. Roland's been into emulations of their own stuff for, I mean, right here, 20 some years. So nice to see with the TR-1000 they're actually bringing back the analog. I don't know what it took them so long for, this whole chasing ghosts thing. Well, people want ghosts, I guess, sometimes. So shift that a little bit again. We also have actually a fair amount of connectivity, which I talked about. You have your in here, you have your outs and ins stereo in the back, but you also have an additional stereo out, which is for aux sends, so you can send dry signal, or you can maybe process something through the effects from the input, but leave the synth all by itself, still kind of going through an output. You wouldn't be able to share the effects, but a couple of different variations you can do. Personally, I've only used the inputs a couple of times. The main thing I will say is when we'll talk about the expansion cards, there is a fantastic vocoder in here, and that was the main reason I ever plugged anything into this, was to use a mic and a vocoder. So that was very cool. So we also have, well, some unfortunately stuff that no longer really applies, mainly the USB port. I guess if I had a very old computer, I might be able to use it, but they stopped supporting that, like, I'm sorry to say, Roland does. It'd have been nice if they had made it maybe USB compliant, or what do you call it, class compliant, so that you could still use it to this day. But unfortunately, no. So you have to do samples kind of the old school way, which is either sampling manually or using a compact flash card. I should say technically a PC card. I am using a compact flash card with a PC card adapter. This goes in here, and with that in there, you can store tons of extra samples. This only has, I think, about 50 megabytes of storage, which back then probably wasn't too small. Not great, but not huge. Now it's minuscule. But when you do a sample inside here, you have to encode it into its kind of proprietary format, and that does reduce the amount of, I mean, they're tiny. You can get quite a few out of that. I think you technically only get about 18 megabytes for the user stuff. But again, that's just internal. If you pop in the PC card, as much as you can find a card size worth, you can put in there. So one thing I will mention as a little caveat with the non-official, I'm just guessing because I can't imagine this happened normally, but I've never had an official Roland PC card. With this setup using an adapter and a compact flash card, I do have to make sure I eject this card before I boot it. If I do not, it just does nothing. The screen lights up, but nothing appears. The moment I eject it, it starts booting. So it must have something similar to like a Windows PC, or if you have something plugged in, say, an old CD drive that with a CD in there, it's going to boot from that first. So it's trying to boot from this first, I assume. But once you boot it up, you put it in there, you can go over to the sampling section, which we'll go over, and you can boot your own, bring in your own samples. So the other stuff that no longer really matters anymore, I shouldn't say that. You do have digital SPDIF, which does still function. I just don't know too many people are using it these days. You also have, what was the other thing? Oh, V-Link video control. So if you are one of probably the very few who owns a Roland DV-7PR digital video workstation, well, one, I'm jealous because it sounds very cool. I'm sure it's very dated, but very awesome. You can sync up with this. But again, probably really cool for 2005 to 2007, and then it just disappeared like, unfortunately, a lot of Roland stuff does. And I've never seen that. I think it's probably pretty cool if it's still out there being used, but no idea. And that's kind of pretty much it. The main thing really is the fact that you can use all sorts of fun things as the oscillators in here. That's truly the big selling point to me. The Cosm technology is great. The filters sound good, but at this point, you can emulate great filters on a Android, or I'm not Android, but a, what do you call the little guys? What the wave state runs on. I think the filter sounds really good in that too. Arduino is what I meant to say. So that's, that was probably a really big deal back then. It probably sounded really good compared to what you would find on, say, like Korg MS-2000, which I was not really into the filter on that one. This one probably, beat its butt because it still holds its own, in my opinion, today, where you can get some really amazing digital emulations of filters. But yes, the main thing to me is the oscillators and, of course, the massive amounts of modulation. Somewhat targeted, but still a whole lot to work with. So let's go ahead and start making some sounds. This one initially just came about. Let me bring that up an octave. This one, just to go over it real quick, was based off a analog oscillator, the feedback oscillator, and then the LA saw. So LA, when that refers to those oscillators, what they're talking about is linear algorithmic synthesis. I believe I got that right. And that was their proprietary synthesis back in, God, I think it started with, it was like the D series. I sold it recently, a D110 I had, and that thing was an old, simple synthesizer, but it did LA synthesis, which I thought was interesting. I never thought it was particularly great, but it has its moments, it had some cool stuff, some cool sounds in there. But back then, probably amazing. Let's just go over the oscillators real quick. So we have a saw, a square, a triangle, and a sine, of course. We have a ramp, which to me sounds very similar to the saw. We have a Juno, which is pretty interesting. And let's see actually what that is, because I'm not really sure. Okay, so it's kind of like saw meets square. So they must be mixing the square and the saw from the Juno. Then you get these high quality saw, high quality square. These are oversampled, and what they mean by that, they've been sampled more times than your traditional versions of these. So the idea is it contains more information, but also by oversampling the whole thing behind sampling. If you're not aware of this, it's kind of interesting, but if you were to say open up a waveform that you recorded in a DAW and you got really zoomed in there, you're going to notice they are stepping. They're snapshots. Just the same way a movie, at least back in the day in film, was a series of pictures just played very quickly, and it was your eyes just let it blend together and it looked like moving actual stuff, which of course it is, but it's really just a series of pictures, of static pictures over and over. Same thing with sound. You are using digital audio, it's sampling, it's taking very, very, very incredibly finite little tiny samples of each sound and doing that over and over and over. And when you do it enough, your ear cannot hear those gaps because they happen too fast. But to some degree, you lose quality. You can definitely hear recordings from the late 90s that were using digital audio workstations don't sound quite as full as they do nowadays because the sampling has gotten better and more sampling occurs with less demand on your computer, or maybe your computers have more capacity to handle it, one or the other. So with the high quality square and saw wave, you do get oversampled, better quality sounding oscillators. To me, it's not a huge difference in terms of sound, but it does eat up more of your voices and more of the CPU, which means you get less voices. And that's a big thing in this synthesizer. You hit these trade-offs. The more cosms you put in here, you have 2 effect slots. If you put both, you're going to lose a couple voices. And like I said, normally you're not going to notice that if you're playing a single patch, unless you're playing something really big with lots of pads and lots of sustains and releases. Then you're going to be, having to pull notes. But other than that, it's not too bad. But ironically, this is a multi-timbral synthesizer. It can play up to 16 patches at the same time. Cool idea, but I mean, if you're only working with 24 voices, all of those basically have to be monophonic, except for maybe one piano patch or something. So it does work, and that's totally cool, but you're going to run out of space pretty quick. My approach to this is just one patch. I try to maximize as much as I can in the sound, and therefore I don't have to worry about the voice count too much. You also have a rhythm section too, which is, it's both large and complex, but also simple. You only get 4 of them, and it's basically just a sample playback machine. To an extent, I have to look into it, but I think you also can kind of work it around where you can use, well, I'm not sure. I'll get there. But my idea is that maybe you can actually use a patch per drum sound, but I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't really messed around with that too much. Not something I'm reaching for drums. It's just the interface and stuff like that to build the drums. Maybe it was easier when you had the computer, but it is quite laborious on this thing. So honestly, I kind of avoid it. So what are we talking about here? We've got everything covered other than the effects. The effects, you do get a multi-effects, which has tons of different stuff. Pretty great too. I think the delays sound good. It's got some boss distortion emulations, some choruses and all that kind of stuff. It also has a dedicated chorus and a dedicated reverb. The reverb for its time is phenomenal. Modern, it's good. It's good. It's not bad. It's good. It's just not, I got an H90 Eventide over here, and it doesn't, they're in 2 different classes. But for this, it functions wonderfully. I also, like I mentioned before, love the fact that you can also send the sound out of 2 outputs. So you might want to record it wet into your DAW just to get that sound and feel and imprint, but you can also record the dry channel without the effects, so therefore you can put on your very fancy effects later. So I love when synthesizers have those options. So I think we pretty much hit everything. What I'd like to do tonight is, we have about an hour and a half. I would like to make 3 patches. And I forgot to mention 2 things. I did mention them, but I wanted to go over them a little bit more. But the 3 patches, one will be in the V-Synth. We're just going to do something, probably PCM based, because I think that's what really is its specialty, or that's what sets it apart from other VA or sample based synthesizers. And we are going to go into, if I go to this mode, no, sorry, I'm looking for card. Where's card? Up here, V card. Boom. You can see 2 other full-on synthesizers. The first one is the glorious D50, which I do believe is an LA synthesizer as well. Linear algorithmic synthesizer. And then you also get this crazy thing called the vocal designer. This one is what I was talking about with using vocoder. But you can also design your own kind of choral patches and pads and kind of stuff like in that vein. You can get really kind of wonky in there, but it's designed for making vocal based sounds. It's not limited to that, but that's kind of its main focus. But we're gonna go back and oh, I bet you I just restarted it, didn't I? Yeah, I could have just hit exit and got right back out, but by clicking on it, I basically made it load. So we'll go over to this patch I have over here, and this one's gonna be a test for me, and I hope everybody sticks it out for it because it's gonna be interesting. But I pulled up one of these older PCM samples that I personally am not crazy about, but I think it could be used to make something pretty interesting. So we'll see. I'm going to give it a minute. It does take a little bit to load, you can see. The more stuff you add in there, the more it's going to take, because it's basically loading all the pre-made samples and the user. So it's basically loading that 50 megabytes of sample storage. All right. So I'm going to go bank, 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 and increase to YouTube 1. Okay, let me play this real quick. So it's one of those, I feel like, it's like some cheesy 90s hip-hop kind of R&B sample or something like that. But I think we can do something fun with it. So let's come over to oscillator 1. You can see this is where I have the PCM selected. This one is called OTH. I'm not sure what that means, but Atmosphere Wave. And it is in mono, which is pretty standard. They're all going to be mono, I think, when they're... I don't know what the OT... Oh, other. That's what it means. We're going to leave that here. So here's our section for the sampler here. We got the very phrase. We got time trip and time trip beat keep. I'm going to turn these off because we just don't need them. That has to do with... I think it's under control. Here. Yep. You come to this control button here. You can start messing around with this. Is basically different. You can go into that matrix section and it can apply different parameters to these, and it is a cool idea. Don't get me wrong. But I don't really use it that much because it's more of a performance control, and I don't really perform with this guy. So let's get back in here. So back to oscillator 1. I'm happy with this so far, but I think I'm going to take the very phrase off for a second. Here, what we got. Doesn't sound any different. Actually kind of sounds better without it. Sounds a little bit fuller. So we're gonna come off of it. I'm gonna leave it off. We do have our playback mode here, which is really cool. So when you get into these things here, this actually offers you different variations on how the sample plays back. I'm going to go into re-trigger mode so that way it starts it every time. We are going to come down to pitch. I'm going to leave pitch alone because usually if I'm going to mess with pitch on a synthesizer, I'm in the wrong one time. I'm making drum sounds. Or I'm going to do a subtle bit to make it lo-fi, but we're not going to do that with this guy. Time. So this one's interesting. So time offset is basically in relation to the PCM, the waveform we have in here for this guy. And let's see what we can do from this guy, because honestly I've not really messed much with this. Yeah, that's just kind of basically affecting the pitch. Something else I didn't mention yet is you obviously have these 4 knobs up here. These are your main controllers. You also have this value knob right here, which is a push-click encoder. This does fine editing. You make sure you highlight whatever it's on. You can see. Mine is a little funky. I actually have a replacement for it. I just haven't gotten around to it. If I clean it out with some dusty air, it works better. But if you can see, spin it. Well, it's actually reacting properly now. Doesn't always. Oh, see, I'm getting stuck. Stuck there. Back to 0. It is a push encoder, like I mentioned. You can actually type in over here, which is much more handy than I thought. Especially if you're trying to get into big numbers and stuff. Instead of having to tweak knobs, you can just click and then type in the exact number you want, and it's very effective. Let's see. So we're not going to mess anything with here either, but we will go with format. It's not letting me do anything here, which means that the oscillator, the PCM, probably this particular one, has no formant options. This is essentially your amplifier envelope stage, but just for this one oscillator. So I'm going to come here and I'm actually going to mess with this. You can see here, I'm sorry, I was in the middle of explaining this. I stopped. These are your 8 encoders that always match up to something on the screen, and it's kind of hard to tell. Well, you can kind of see. You have these little numbers that pick out what they consider to be the most important ones to control. Almost always this bottom row, if you have ADSR envelope there, will control that. As you can see, it does right there. They are not endless encoders, so they do jump, unlike, which I think Electrons nailed it. So just keep in mind, wherever it is now, you can see if I have 6 decays all the way bottom, but it's up here. If I start twisting it, it's going to jump up and then go back down. So if you ever want to come in here and zero it out, you can just do this guy. For whatever reason, they always have the release all the way open on this, and I just leave that be, unless I do want to mess with it. Actually, this time I do. So I'm going to bring down the sustain. I'm going to bring down the release, bring up the decay to about there. I'm going to bring the sustain to, just in case we want to hold it, to about there, and then I'll do the release at about the same. So 0, 82, 59, 55. So here we got. What is happening is we're getting overridden by the main amp envelope. I'm going to increase the sustain here. I think I had it somewhere in below 50, so I'll just do 60 here, 64. There we go. That's starting to sound 90s right there, baby. Oh my God. Doom, 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 doom. It sounds like Weird Al or, I'm saying Weird Al, but it's actually Michael Jackson. Okay, so we're good there. I'm going to do a little bit of attack on this one as well. It's going to be pretty atonal, but I have some other ideas going on. So before I bring in a second oscillator, which is what I'm going to do to kind of bring some more tonality to this, I'm going to go actually to COM again, and I'm going to select my structure type. This is where things can be really nice. So currently right now we have what you normally have. You have 2 oscillators and they're mixing into each other in some fashion, and they're going down the rest of the chain. That includes your modulation, your COSM filters, or just your filters, if you will, and then your amp envelope. So with this, you can actually select how you do this, how you divvy up really the COSMs. So what is going where. So for example, this one right here would put oscillator 1 through COSM 1 solo. Then, and we'll talk about the mod section here in a second, but it goes then on to COSM 2 where oscillator 1 and oscillator 2 are mixed. So you kind of get a single COSM to affect one oscillator, and then you can come and get both done by the second one. I'm either going to do that or I'm going to separate them where each oscillator gets its own COSM effect. I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to stick with this one for now because I may just leave oscillator 2 as something relatively simple to arrive to COSM 2. So let's go to our mod section here and talk about this for real quick. This is relatively simple, but as you can see, it's another form of mixing for the oscillators. Standard, obviously just mixing the 2 together. This, it's interesting because I'm assuming that this would override that. But this is more, I believe this is, okay, this is the modulation section, so it's sort of like an FM area. So with mix, you're basically coming in together and they're affecting each other, but only in the audio sense. Ring modulation is basically the second one is modulating similar to an FM, but not quite. FM is doing FM, so basically your oscillator 1 is acting what they call the carrier, and the oscillator 2 is acting as your modulator. So traditional FM, you won't really hear the modulator unless you have it piped in somehow by itself. But I believe that would be different if I had the type 1 or type 2 structure set up, but I'm not sure, so we'll have to mess with that. Envelope, ring, and oscillator sync. So basically, they're just traditional things you're going to see. It's just basically how the 2 oscillators interact. I'm going to stick with mix for now because I want to hear everything we're doing before I get into that kind of changing it up with FM and stuff. I want this to be essentially like a cleaner patch. Okay, so we're back to oscillator 1. We went through all these guys. We have this sound for now. Very noisy. Basically a controlled noise with a little bit of some fundamental in there. Let's go to COSM 1. Okay, so 99% of the time, if I'm picking COSM 1, I'm going to select a low-pass filter, which is what they call the TVF. well, I should say filter, because you can see below we have all of our different options. You do get a low pass, a band pass, a high pass, a notch, and a peak. Notch and peak, you can kind of think of those more like EQ. You know, if there's a particular sound you don't like, or you do want to like highlight a particular frequency, that's where the notch and peak are going to come in handy. High pass filter obviously pulls up from the low end and scoops up everything that is on the low section, so you get those nice tinny sounds. Low pass opposite. Band pass is both, so you're basically getting a little bit of low pass, a little bit of high pass mixed in together. We're sticking with the low pass. Come over to our cutoff. I'll go over all these different options here in a moment, but I'm going to put that as our second COSM. So for this one here, God, you know what? I'm going to take that back, because if I go here, yes, I'm going to actually go and do my COSM 2, which I have to turn on as my filter. Don't normally do it that way, but since I have separated the oscillators with oscillator 1 being solely run through COSM 1, I'm going to do this way so I have a filter to manage them both, for now at least. So let's go ahead and mess with the filter a little bit. So we got our frequency, we got our LFO, which is right here. This is our depth for the LFO. So as I mentioned before, almost every single page is going to have an LFO dedicated to everything on that page. And you basically get little depth knobs to mess with the LFO, or how much is coming into that particular parameter. One thing I do want to say about the LFO, thank you, Roland. You did a fantastic job on this. This is the minimum paradigm that should be for LFOs. Like, this is what everybody should be doing at the minimum. Obviously, we get a bunch of different waveforms. Great, that's not my big point, but that is lovely. You get some offsets, which is nice. I prefer a fully controllable offset, but this works too for now. Key sync off, that's pretty standard. Here's where we get what's nice. You get a delay. Great. But if anybody watched some of my previous videos, for example, with the DW8000, a delay can be pretty lame if it just comes in. If you have no LFO and then boom, you have LFO, it can be a little jarring. I don't find a lot of use for LFOs like that. But you do get, whoops, what did I do? That's weird. You do get fade. You get fade in, fade out, and you get on and off here, which means it's depending on, is it fading in from the beginning or fading out at the end? And then you also get a time to adjust. So if I fade it in from the end, and you get a little visual representation of this. This is awesome. So let's see, number 5, I'm going to crank this up, and you can see, gives you a visual representation of what's happening. Very little to none, and then increases, and then it hits. You can crank it all the way over to the left. And if I did it this way, whoops, you can see it's, oops. Why is, oh, I got that. Do I have it on? No, I don't understand that. Off would be the same way, but I guess they're not giving me the, they're just showing you this way. They're not flipping it around. No big deal. But essentially, it's actually doing that on the opposite side of the waveform because it's fading out. We're going to go to fade in, and I'm going to bring it to about 64. I haven't added anything yet, but I'm just going to do that because that's the way I know I want this LFO to be. I love this. This is absolutely what everybody should do. All right, so it's not even on right now, our oscillator 2. Let's go back to oscillator 1. I'm going to leave that be for a second. We're going to come back to COSM 1, and we're going to select what we're going to do here. I think I did the filter on 2. Yes, okay. So COSM 1 is only being fed by oscillator 1, which we know is that sound. So here's some options. Through, I'm not sure why they even put this on here because you can just turn it off. And I imagine through is probably eating up some of your CPU because it's still passing it through. But they did, so whatever. Maybe it has something to do with the way the audio processes through. I'm not sure. OD and DS, overdrive and distortion. Let's see what we get. It's not a great sound for it because it's not going to pick up a lot of that. Some. It's already noisy by itself, so it's hard to hear really what that's fully doing, but that is pretty decent emulation. Wave shaper, so this is fun. Again, probably not the greatest patch for it. Let's hear it. What I wish I could do is I wish I could point the LFO to this. And like, oh, you can't. That actually sounds really good. Hold on, I want to hear this. Without, I like that. I just like that a lot. And then you can come over here and you can start messing with all the parameters. You get tons of parameters. You get the ADSR per guy here. So this is also, you do get velocity sensitivity, and you get that across several different function parameters here. I did forget to mention one other thing, two other things, but we'll get to one of them later. But right now I want to mention that this is polyphonic aftertouch. So you can control this with, say, for example, the Native Instruments SL-MK361 is what I have. And it does polyphonic aftertouch, meaning each individual key is sending its own amount of pressure and controlling the parameters individually. So that's pretty awesome. So for example, if you had it set up to the filter, you could be pushing down harder on certain notes and they would be getting more filter while the other ones stay nice and pristine and clean. Very cool. Especially, I mean, I can't say, wow, it's amazing for this old of a synthesizer, because most people probably know that the Yamaha, what is it, the one that Vangelis made famous. Oh, I can't think of it right now. Anyways, it's an amazing synthesizer. It's the big, huge one. It's got all the knobs and... my brain's totally... Anyways, that was polyphonic aftertouch. So it's been around for a long time. I guess most people don't want to deal with it for some reason. And a digital synthesizer was not there. This is. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So here's your envelope depth to the drive is what it's actually controlling. You get the same thing for tone, velocity, sensitivity, and ADSR and the envelope depth. Just really cool. Just really cool. Let's mess with it a little bit. Let's see what we get. So if I come here and I turn the drive down, very similar to without. Basically with it, yeah, it's the same thing. That's the drive. So what I'm going to do here, I already know what I want to do. I'm going to do a slow attack. Let's bring the attack up. I love the visual representation. That is so nice. You know, you should be working with your ears mostly, but sometimes when you're just cranking through and you got all these things going on, you just want to be able to see something like this and instead of trying to see the knob positions. Let's do a little release on there. I think it was already there. Let's hear we get, oh, got to do the envelope depth. Let's go all the way up. Okay, that's what we got. That's nice. That's awesome. I think I'm going to bring the attack back a little bit so it happens a little quicker and maybe a little bit less of the depth. Woo. Okay. Sensitivity wise, yeah, they always default you at 32 on all of these. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Let's mess with the tone now. Oh, nice. Definitely going to do some envelope on here. I'm going to take off here. I'm going to do this. Go to 0. Select. I'm going to turn that sensitivity all the way off, so whatever I play with the keyboard is not going to change what the tone is doing. I want the ADSR here, the dedicated one, to do all the work. I mean, look at this too. They also give you an overlay of the other ADSR envelope that you're in the same page. That is just, that's really smart. That's really good thinking. So it's like if I want to match it, I can easily, oops, I just changed the wrong button. I can easily match it. Right there. Pretty dang close. And that's because I added the LFO here, so I'm going to take that off entirely. I usually kind of like that, so we might go back with it, but... There's no depth on there yet. Let's do a depth of 41. All right, I'm into that. Let's do a little bit of LFO. I'm going to apply some, but I'm going to come back and change here the rate. So the rate's pretty high right now. We're going to bring it down pretty low. Let's try 12. Let's see what we get. Oh man, this is going to be... All right. I'm going to bring in a little bit of delay on this. So number 5 is my delay time. Gotta love that visual representation. That is just so awesome that they did that. We're going to boost the rate a little bit. Let's see what we get. Oops. Let's try a really heavy rate. I like this. Okay, it doesn't sound great right now. I get that. But we're establishing a base for a cool sound that I have in my head. I think at this point, I'm going to leave this where it is. I'm going to head over to oscillator 2. Now we're going to bring in, this time I'm going to bring in just one of the analog VA, the virtual analog sounds here. And I think starting off with the super saw is where we should be. You can see you get different, these are grayed out right now because we're in super saw. Man, I'm sorry, that image just sucks. Let me see if I can mess with the LCD contrast. Oh, that's a little better. Yeah, there we go. Very bright for me, but that's okay. If you go through these, you get different options here. Mainly these concerned with the sub oscillator and the sub level. You got impact as well. But you can see they go away for certain ones. So the high quality ones apparently aren't wanting to give you enough CPU to handle the sub for that as well. Got noise, we got the LA saw, square, super saw, that takes it away as well. So does the feedback. All right, super saw. So we come here, you can see our pages change, as well whenever you switch to a different oscillator. So for this one, we do get a detune page. Let's see what we got. I'm going to turn that awful sounding thing off right now, and just we'll hear the super saw. Classic super saw. I mean, they clearly sampled the crap out of it. Probably from the JP 8000, I think it is. That sounds great. But let's hear it. We get a little bit of detune because that's where the super saw really shines. Not bad. So, one thing I'm going to do, just to give it some extra flavor here, is I'm going to bring in the LFO, which is messing with the detune. Come down here to LFO. It is on. We don't need a fade. Nah, we don't. Well, the fade's there already. It's fine. I'm definitely going to key sync. I should have probably gone back and done that on this guy too. And we are going to do a sine wave. Delay's good, fade's good, time's good, rates. Let's hear the rate. I'll bring this down actually. So we're not hearing much. So if I come back here and start increasing the depth, decrease the rate a little bit. And I brought down the depth a little bit. I like that. I like that a lot. Oh man, that sounds so good. We don't need to delay. I think, well, let's delay just a little bit. I do want that kind of warble that's coming from the LFO to not hit right away. So just a little bit extra delay. Yeah, a little bit less. Great. That sounds good. Okay, just for fun, I'm going to mix these two. I'm still not there yet, but let's see what they got together. Oh no! Yeah, I don't know if I can be able to pull this off, but I'm still going to try. Let's come back to, this is oscillator 1. I don't think the vary is going to do anything, but maybe it does help a little bit. No, not at all. Yeah, I feel like some of these PCMs too, I can't do what I was hoping, which I think that's the case with this one. Does it change any? No. All right, I'm going to go back up. My little button's messing up. I think it was in the 80s. Other atmosphere wave. So let's just try one. Come back here and try to see if we can find the pitch and make it not sound so bad. Woo! Dang, no. Okay, we're going to take away the super wave because I think what I might be able to do, I wonder what I can do with this. There's got to be something because it's a cool sound. Ooh, way too high. Let's try the feedback. So we're going straight sound effects at this point. It's gonna have to stay basically in the same patch, same chord. Okay. We'll move on from this one, not too far from here, because it's a pretty it was worth a shot, but it doesn't sound very good. Okay, so here's something I'm going to do. I'm actually going to bring this back down. I was just messing with this guy here, but I know what I need to do now is I need to come back to oscillator 1, get to our pre-optional envelope here. I'm going to do a long attack. Yeah. Okay. Man, I don't know because I feel like this just sounds so cool. I am going to come back here and think about oscillator 2 a little differently. I'm going to come to the oscillator types and maybe we'll go for a PCM. Okay. So we have these DLP ones are like drum loops. Not all that useful, but I feel like right now anything can kind of go. Let's see what we go here. No, it's... Okay, if you're still with me, I know this sounds pretty weird, but I have faith. Let's come over here to the cutoff. Let's hear the pitch coming in. I'm going to turn some of these off. Ah, here we go. I turned the very phrase off. Tempo sync on. So we're not getting the repitch and all that kind of stuff. It's basically just playing the one sound. It's just playing the same sound over and over, which I think is going to work for this. Okay, let's go to the TVA of oscillator 2. We're going to also do some slow attack, a little bit of decay, nice release. Okay. I'm going to now come back here, and this is where I'm going to have a little bit of fun. This is the LFO for oscillator 2. I'm going to use it on the amp of just oscillator 2. So LFO depth. And what I'm hoping we're going to get here, about halfway, 64, 43 depth. I hope we're going to get kind of this more percolation. I know it's got that already with the drum beat, but I want it even more. I know this is a weird sound. Ooh, okay. Cosm 2. I'm going to come and open up this filter a little bit. We are going to actually bring the filter down. We're going to use the amp envelope. Bring it right back up. We're going to open it up a little bit too. And I'm going to do a little bit of decay down to about 90, and then sustain's going to hold at 99. There we go. Let's do less notes. I like that. I think that's pretty cool. All right, let's mess with some effects, and I think we'll move on from this one. I might sample this into like the Toneverk maybe and use it as an opening patch, but we're gonna go ahead and just drench it with some reverb right now. Let's see what we get for this. We have room, hall, garage, plate, non-linear. Let's try non-linear. And I'm gonna crank. You don't need to worry about pre-delay time. We have NLR type, nonlinear type. I'm not sure what that means. I guess maybe they're saying that they're kind of coming in at different times, like where left will be dominant to right and vice versa on this side. Feedback time, 7. We're going to crank it. Okay, we only get about a millisecond, so this isn't going to be huge. We'll see what we get. Level, I'm not going to mess with the other ones yet. Dude, oh, I love that. That's fantastic. I'm gonna add a few more notes. I'm gonna double the notes, so basically just an octave higher. So same notes with an octave on top. Can't see all my fingers, I know. Man, that, okay, I'm happy I stuck with that. I hope you guys are too, because I think that's a really cool sound. Let's go ahead and call this real quick. It's an SFX for sure. Oops, that's a lowercase. Let's delete all of those real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Shift S F X. I don't know. Bad Storm? Something simple. Bad Storm. That works for me. And I can't get that many. I know what we'll do. Do a capital. We'll do camel case. Can I do it? Can I do it? Hey, Bad Storm. Okay, we got compare, list, category. Boom, 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 boom. We're looking for SFX. FX noise. That works. Excuse me. All right. I want to hear that one more time. Very quiet, I can see that. Let me see if I can boost this up real quick. I'll make sure to watch it too so it doesn't get too hot on the other patches, which will probably be much bigger. Oh yeah, I don't have any gain on here, so let's do Set it to 20. Now let's do 12 with an auto set. What do we get out of this? One last time. Man, I'm having all sorts of problems today. I think my interface froze and it's not letting me affect that, so unfortunately it's not going to be very loud. And I don't think I have a way to crank it here. Let me see what I can do back here. Boom, 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 levels, high as it can be. Ah, man, what a bummer. Oh, I can maybe do some more higher output here. Routing, there we go. Let's crank this up. For something. That was gonna be an intro for something. That is cool. I really like that. Okay. All right, let's move on. I am gonna go ahead and say let's go ahead and mess with the V cards. Because I've done a video with this already, way, I don't know, God, it was like 6 months ago maybe. But I did not do anything but the traditional system here. You know what? No. I'm gonna take that back. I don't think I did enough with the PCMs. I want to do something that's maybe a little bit more palatable. So let's go ahead and increase. I'm going to play this sound. I'm going to turn it down first because kind of neat. It's some loop going on there with some effects clearly and some panning, but I'm going to initialize it. See you later. This is the initialized patch. It's just going to be simple saw, just like you're going to find most synthesizers. Nice. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and mess about. I'm going to make more of a traditional sound with this, but I'm actually going to do the analog waveform first, or the VA, I should say, the virtual analog, and then I'm going to add a PCM to it to kind of like pepper it up a little bit. So let's go ahead and mess around with these real quick. I can't remember if we played them all. I really like the saw. That is one difference here. You can see you actually get one X-mod oscillator that's different than oscillator 2. Other than that, they're pretty much the same, I believe. So I'm going to do the LA square. There is something about that LA square that I do love. I loved it in the D10. I thought it had this kind of... It's very low... It's like a lower bit sound to it a little bit. Almost, you know, like Sid Station. Not quite, obviously. But it's got some of that flavor. Okay, so let's do square. Let's go, first of all, mess with our pulse width. And I'm going to do what pretty much everybody likes to do on a saw wave. I am going to increase an LFO depth to mess with the pulse width. This is going to be too much, I'm sure, because it's always set pretty high, the rate of the envelope, or the LFO, sorry. It's actually not that bad, but let's hear what it sounds like if I... I'm going to meet it in the middle. Normally I think at 98, we're going to go 85. Cool. All right. They have this thing called FAT, and it appears on some of the waveforms. It basically is just kind of an EQ boost, I think, on the low end. It's really tripping there, though. Ooh, it's actually changing the pitch. It's not. I'm gonna do a little FAT, though. Almost sounds like a feedback that it's doing. Okay. I think pulse width is good. We can do what's really nice, obviously, and do a ADSR envelope to the pulse width, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to come over to oscillator 2. I'm going to find a PCM to go along with this. And I'm probably going to try and find one that's more of a synth sound. Whoops, too far. So it's kind of hard to see here. Maybe you can see it pretty well. Oh, I got my little logo right in the middle here. I'm sorry. What are you doing? Get out of here. There, you can live above my head. There we go. We get quite a few options here. So if you see, each one of these tabs kind of essentially is a bank, sort of. But you can see like DLPs go all the way through first and almost the second one, where voice loop, guitar loop, synth loop, these are all loops. We're going to go past to the syn page for synthesis. Let's see, we got distorted oscillator, sweep oscillator, pulse. Let's just hear what they sound like. I'm actually going to select it real quick. Go here and turn off oscillator 1 so we can just hear what it sounds like by itself. Oh, I went to some organ. I don't know how I got to there. Okay, back to fat distortion oscillator. Just to remind you, this is the very phrase technology. So these are all single samples that they've used to repitch and stretch across the keyboard. And I mean, sounds pretty dang good. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Nope. Oh, I did it again. Come back here. JP8000 feedback. That actually sounds okay. That's the PG sweep. That is the Wolfgang. What is it? God, I can't remember what it's called. Behringer just copied it. No. Oh, here we go. I'm going to have to come up an octave. Man, it really dies on the high end, so maybe not that one. No, that might be it. Let's try that for now. All right, bring in oscillator 1 again. Let's just hear what we have. Okay, nothing like where we want to end up, but we're getting there. So we're going to come to oscillator 2. I'm going to come down to the oscillator TVA, the envelope for just the amp on this oscillator, and we're going to bring her in moderately slow. Bring the decay to about the same. Sustain will bring down. Probably almost all the way out, but not quite. Release will keep relatively high. Unfortunately, the release is overridden by the TVA page one here. So the release doesn't really matter. As long as you're more than the release of the final one, then you'll actually hear it. Okay, I'm going to pitch this down. So I'm going to go to coarse. I wonder if I can just do it in the oscillator type. No, I cannot. I think that's only in the VA can you actually pitch down here. 12. need to give some release to this so that we get some release out of this guy. A little too much. Okay, I'm going to go back to oscillator 1, and I'm going to bring in the attack on this a little quicker than the other, oscillator 2. So this should come in first, and then we should hear that little, whatever oscillator 2 is doing, the little tickly sound. Oh, I just did the pitch. Well, pitch is not being affected, so I'm going to come to TVA, try that again. Just leaving the other one where it was because it wasn't actually engaging with the pitch knob. Come to this mod section now. I'm not sure I'm going to leave oscillator 2 as high as it was. It was kind of sounding a little high. I actually want to go back real quick and adjust this course to actually a positive 12, I think. It's a little whiny dog screen door sounding right now, but I think we can still work with it. Okay, so here's where we're going to mess with these guys. This is the modulation of the two oscillators. So we're going to go from mixed standard to ring modulator. See what that sounds like. That's kind of neat. Just kind of like plucking in here and there. This is frequency modulation. Oh, yeah. Oh my god. Okay. Woo! That's awesome. I'm going to go to envelope ring modulator here just to... Oh, that sounds really cool too. So what I can do here, you see, is I can actually use an envelope, a very simple attack release. That's cool, but I think I'm going to stick with FM because I feel like this just... Oh, that's giving me such a nice... Oh, man. I love this synthesizer. I'm sure you've heard me say that already a few times, but it is a fun sound design platform, sandbox, if you will. I've never pulled this thing out and said, I just want a basic, saw lead. It's just not that for me. I'm sure it does a great job for it. Almost like guaranteed. It does have that classic Roland kind of tone to it. I think most times I feel like I can spot a Roland because it just has a very specific character, and this does have that. So you're going to make really cool Roland style leads on this. But when it comes to that is cool. That sounds like it should be in a sci-fi movie. Okay. Oh, I'm so happy. All right. Well, I don't think there's any reason to separate the oscillators to different Cosm effects, but I think we can start off by going with a little bit of filter because I think the high end at the end there is a little bit too much. I'm just going to shave off the top end here. Interesting. I don't know if I want to shave off the top end. No, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring it down. Right there. Okay. Let's bring up our envelope depth. We're at 66, so we're going to go ahead and crank it all the way. That should get us to what we need. We have got the attack. It's fine. We're going to bring the sustain down with a nice decay. Going to do the release to match just in case I let go a little early. Let's do 98 for both of those. More decay because I want that to happen slower, so I'm going to come up to about 107. I'm going to match the release. We are also going to bring the frequency down hair to 60. I was at 66 before, and I'm also going to bring the envelope depth down because I want some of that filter to hit in the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and take the sensitivity off. I don't want how hard I'm playing to mess with this just yet. I feel like I need a little bit more decay. The decay is going to have to be slow. That's lovely. Oh my god. I'm so happy I have this synthesizer. I bought this specifically for a project, specifically for the vocoder, because I knew it was going to be good, and I ended up not using it for that project at all. I ended up using my Radius, my Chord Radius vocoder, which for what I was doing for that particular project, it was better for it. It just sounded cleaner. I also had this really cool setup with a TC Helicon doing voice pitch before it even got to the vocoder, so I could mix them. Anyway, really cool. But I bought this for the vocoder, got it all set up, compared it to the Radius, realized the Radius was winning for what I needed, and I kind of shelved it, sort of, you know. I was like, oh, well, I'll use it for something. And then a couple months later, I brought it out and started playing with it, and I was like, oh my god, this thing is incredible. Like, I had no idea. I do remember people back in the day comparing it to like Spectrasonic's Omnisphere when it was in its earlier stages. And this kind of is that to me. It has not everything that Omnisphere has. Omnisphere is a software synth, so you can do a lot more with those with less resources. But this truly blew me away. Like, I was blown away at the sounds I was making, and I've loved it ever since. So let's come over to this Cosm type. So let's do something a little silly. The first thing I'm going to do is actually pump it through the resonator. I'm probably not going to keep this, but it's kind of a neat idea to hear what it sounds like. So you do get these filter types: banjo, acoustic guitar, and a resonator guitar. So we'll start with the banjo. And warmed it up rather nicely. Versus, oh, I almost wanted to be right in the middle. Maybe I can find something with the AC guitar. Oh, it's not on. There we go. Look at that. I'm already stealing voices. Can you believe that? That's how quick it happens. So I'm supposed to have 24 voices, and I am basically getting, there's my 4. That's crazy. That shouldn't be happening. Dang, I'm getting 4 voices. Maybe 5. Not many more. That is the bummer of this guy, I have to admit. You make a really cool, complex sound, and unfortunately, you kind of... But there is one trade-off, and if you really get into it, I'm not going to do it tonight because we just don't have enough time, and honestly, I haven't played with the sampler, resample enough to feel like I can do it efficiently right now. But you can resample. You can resample this sound and then apply it through the vary phase and spread it across the keyboard. I'm actually going to do that, but I might have to do it later. You know what? No. Why? Why would I do it later? I'm going to do it now. Why not? Let's try it. First thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to come and save this guy. Not letting this go. Patch right. Let's call it... we call it what do you call it? Well, I'm trying to think when you get like, you know, you need a cigarette, you get kind of frazzled or yeah, frazzled. Let's just call it that. That works. Frazz. How about frazzed? Not the greatest, but it works. I always like to put something after it. My initials, or, you know, Master Leader used to be my old name, so I'll just do that there just so I remember it's something I made. And this is going to be a pad. I think pad's probably going to work. Yeah, pad strings maybe. If there's something better. Noise ambient. I'm going to go with pad. Okay. Execute. Make sure we got it here still. Man, that is cool. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to come here and grab the envelopes for both of these. And I'm going to do the attack right away. The reason I'm doing that is when I go to sample it, I think it'll be much better to sample it all the way, and then I can add a slow attack to it afterwards, of course. So let's see if we can pull this off. So we go to mode, we go to sample. You can see these are all your different modes. Patch is obviously what we've been working in. Rhythm is that rhythm section I was talking about. It is pretty basic, sounds pretty good, but it's not easy to edit. You get 4 kits, and you can change each one of those kits to whatever you want inside, but it's kind of a pain to edit those. So back to sample here. Okay, sampling here, sampling template. Okay, what do we got? Template has mono. We don't want that. Maybe I've got different ones here. Stereo. And we're going to go for the input. How do I change that? General prefix. Yeah, okay. Input. Resample. Let's test the... It's coming in very quiet for some reason. That was weird. Maybe we can... Oh, it's got the... I see. The trigger level here. So we'll go to 0. Oh, did I just go infinite? Oh, okay. Gotta use this guy, but it doesn't always work all that great. Cool, it's working pretty good. Thought hitting 0 would take me to 0, but I was wrong. Oh, you see it's starting to mess up. Get there. Oh, you're so close. There we go. That did not do anything. This is trigger level. I guess that's not... Okay, MIDI, we don't need that. We don't need manual. Oh, I see. This is for threshold recording. I see. Don't want that. I'm going to go with infinity then. Okay. Nope. 0. There we go. I want it to start recording right away. There has got to be a better way to bring in some audio because this has so little. General, pre-effect, sustain. It's hard for me to see right now because I made it really bright so that y'all could see. And limiter. I wonder why it would go so quiet. Oh well, we'll have to do it. Oh, because I have it as line. What if I tried mic? And then I went to the analog setup here. No, it's just super quiet. It makes it super quiet. Dang. I don't think this pre-gain's going to do anything. Sure does. Look at me. I'm totally wrong. I'm cranking this guy. Woo! That's way too much. Still too much. Alright, let's just do this. Oop, plus 15. Definitely dirtying it up a bit, but that's okay. Let's try 21. 25. That works. All right, here we go. Let's see what we get. Let's see, the manual trigger mode. Trying to think. Let's see what we get. No, I don't want to do that. Retry. Oh, let's hear it. And I'm going to cancel this because I just realized I wonder if I can change that. It said sampling light. It's not giving me the option. Well, resample, manual. No, it's not giving me the option. I guess I'm forced to do that. Maybe that's the standard way it resamples. Let's try it again. All right. We're going to rename it real quick. We're going to encode it, actually. So let's go ahead and encode it. And we're going to go with... It is not a solo backing. I guess we'll do ensemble. We'll give that a shot. Hey, would you call it ensemble? Solo? I don't know. We'll try ensemble. It's encoding. This is what allows us to do the very phrase. And I want to rename it. So info. It's telling me one way, that's good, pitch, whatever. You can mess with these guys. I did write it in C. I don't remember exactly which one. It's hard to tell in here. I guess that would have been C2. Whatever, we'll leave it. It's only 1.8 megabytes. It's considered kind of long. If I edit, okay, I can do some cool editing stuff in here, but I'm just looking for the name, but I guess I can't do that. Go back here. I guess I just can't right now. Not here. That's okay. Oh, save it. And yeah, we'll save it on the internal. Did I not put this in? I did not. Oh, no, I did. Card. I'm going to save it on the internal because I just don't have that much going on in here. Okay. Internal project will be replaced. Ooh, I don't know if I want that. What does it mean, internal project will be replaced? Card it is. Internal project. Project. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Let's call this new project. Resample. Resamples. I'll probably just keep them in there. Execute. Hopefully we're doing this right. It is saving a bunch of stuff, so disk new project. I don't know what it's doing, but it's putting it somewhere. Hopefully we can retrieve it and turn it into a cool patch. It seems to be booting all of the waves though, so I wonder if I just copied the entire memory, which is like 50 megabytes, so who cares? But I wonder if I copied that over to the PC card. I wonder why I would say overwrite the internal project though. That's what gave me pause. Okay. Well, it should be in there now. Yep, there it is. I'm not sure how we save it. I'm sorry, to edit it. Sample, copy, move, exchange, delete. There's got to be a way, certainly, but we're not going to worry about it right now. Okay. This I did save the way I wanted it. It's been edited, so let's see what this is real quick. Okay, that's just silly. We can get rid of this. Patch name initialize. I'm not going to worry about this. It's really kind of a test more than anything. So oscillator type PCM. List. We are going to go to the end. User sample. Doesn't sound all that great, honestly, but it's not bad. I prefer the original one still, but let's see if we can mess with this to bring in some of that original envelope sound we had on the other. Patch 87, down the sustain, release is going to be matching at 85 with the decay. Of course, good enough. Lost so much volume though. I'll have to figure that out because that shouldn't be happening. In fact, there should have been a normalize function on there that I missed. I wonder if I can do that real quick. Mode, sample, edit, zoom, 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 adjust, 0, preview loop, lock. No, there is no. Dang. Oh, we got normalize. Ha ha ha. When you press execute the sample, we made the volume consistent. The sample will be made the volume consistent. All right, let's see what we get. Okay, cool. It just turned it up. Cool, cool, cool. All right, save this. I don't know if I need to. Definitely brought back some volume. Let's see if it actually worked in here. I'm thinking it might not have. No. Maybe if I come and grab this one. Nope, I'm going to go back. Sample. User sample. Save. Is it going to save over that whole thing again? No. Internal project will be replaced. Are you sure? Why are you saying that? Well, whatever. Yes, execute. And it's going to bring all those in. No, it didn't. Good. Okay. I guess just needed to do that. All right. First thing I'm going to do is bring down the sensitivity here. So we've got an attack coming on that we don't want that to mess with. I'm going to come to oscillator here and do the same thing. Boom, boom. Select. Go to oscillator. Oh, that's just oscillator 1. Yeah. And why is that coming in so hot? Oh, man. Well, that was a bust, but that's all right. I thought it would be. Oh, heck, man. That was weird how that just happened. That must have been a little bug thing. Yeah, you know, that one didn't come out as good as I had hoped. My levels are up. I could try and boost this somehow with some Cosm. I feel like an amp or speaker would just make that even more gritty. But maybe a compressor might be able to. No. Oh well. I'll probably delete that. If we go back and listen to this guy. Okay. I like that sound. That's beautiful. It is 9:30. I am going to quickly try and mess with the D50 card just to play some stuff here. If you are a fan of the D50, there are some great comparison videos between this emulation and a real D50 on YouTube. This thing knocks it out of the park 95% of the time. There are a few patches I thought when he did the demonstration that were noticeably different. But, I mean, this is pretty awesome. This is straight up a full-on D50. I'm going to see if I should have some of my own patches in here. Patch lists. Let's see where I can find those. Maybe they're in the... Yep. These are definitely mine. Starts with test. Very simple sine wave kind of thing going on. Love Sweet Sting. For me, if I paired this with that H90 reverb, I would be in heaven right now. I think that sounds really cool. Spit Piper. That's pretty funny. That is one of mine. Fliano. Lovely. Bass Plant. That's a pretty fat bass for a D50. The D50 is very capable synth. I wish I had a real one, but this is totally scratching that itch. That's lovely. Half-arsed bells. Okay, that definitely sounded half-arsed. Oh, I had it real low on the octave. Doesn't that just scream 80s soundtrack? It's like the part where the main character is just a little sad about missing the other character. That sounds more like entering some sort of a chamber. Yep, that's about it. So I will say this is a bit of a chore to program. It's very different than most other synthesizers. I had to read the manual a couple times to really understand what was going on, because you have these things called partials, and then you have these different kind of low tones, and I don't know if they call them high tones. I forget what the U and the L actually signify, but it's not easy. In fact, looking at it right now, I'm like, oh man, I don't remember much until you get over to here where it's got your TVF and your TVA. And it's very old school. You're just selecting basically the parameter and adjusting the numbers, which tend to be very small parameter size. You know, you don't get like 128 segments to choose. You often get less. But it is very cool. I just wanted to preview that because honestly, we don't have enough time for me to try and remember how to design stuff. I'm going to do the vocal designer here real quick too. I don't use this one much at all. I have to admit, like I mentioned, I bought this for the vocoder, but I actually liked what I was getting out of the Radius vocoder, so I ended up not using the vocoder on this for pretty much anything, but I did mess with it and had some fun. So here, this is probably, is this a vocoder? Yeah, this is a vocoder effect. See if I can find... I'm not getting any sound out of this right now. Wonder if I have the MIDI set up in a... Oh, no, one. Lock source is internal. It looks like it's right. Let's just go all the way to 0. Dang. Maybe it's coming out of a different output. Check input, check out. That's fine. Audio. All these cool USB audio things, but we don't get to use those anymore because they don't work. Oh, in and out. Here we go. 48 kilohertz. USB type, that doesn't matter. Up a gain. No. There's a preview button. Let me see if that works. No. Well, unfortunately, I'm sorry. I don't know. This is not in vocoder mode. You're supposed to be able to build just choirs with it as well. That's definitely algorithm. Male air choir. Guess it was just the patches. Okay. So if we just take a look at this real quick, we can see we can select an oscillator. We can mess with this vary phrase here and actually create some different effects by the pitch, the time, the format. So this is kind of like manually controlling that vary phrase, which is pretty cool. Then the general TVA. It's very simple. Then you do have this carrier vocoder options here as well, which they can. Let me see if we can turn that on. Why is that one not turning on? Oh, there we go. Try something different. So that's probably only when you have the vocoder going, because it doesn't seem to be doing anything here. Yeah, I'll need to mess with this one some more. It is nice. It's weird how the choirs... Oh, those are definitely... Keyboard choir, vocoder choir, modeling choir. Need to find keyboard choir. There we go. Yeah, pretty simple, from what I can tell. I definitely need to dive in more and try to use it and design some real sounds with it, but I definitely need to read the manual because it's very confusing in here. I mean, it seems... so very simple that all I really get is... I mean, even the TVA, I'm not getting anything to control. Vocoder, carrier, I don't want to use that. You get effects. But I'm not even seeing a way to mess with the attack for this sound. That's strange. Yeah, that's a bit confusing. Oh well. Back to the V-Synth. Well, yeah, I'm definitely realizing that more people seem to join when I have more modern synthesizers going. Maybe one day I'll be able to achieve some sort of following that people just want to hang out and make patches with me, but I don't think I'm there yet. So I might be retiring some of the older synths temporarily and just going to focus on some of the newer stuff I have in the hopes that people will want to join and learn about those synths and maybe make some sounds together. But like I said, not there yet. So next week, I've got a goal, and I'm going to do my best to hit it. My goal is to get out a tutorial before the next stream. That is going to be for the Medieval EP 1320 by Teenage Engineering. I'm going to do a tutorial and explain how I kind of approach it, similar to how I did the modal cycles tutorial with my 6 tips. I'm going to do something similar. Don't know the number of tips yet, but essentially not an overview because that's not what I do. There's plenty of other people out there who have done overviews that go through all the different parameters and such, but I'm just going to basically show you how I approach it, how I write music on it. And then I would like to do a stream immediately after, so hopefully next Tuesday I'll be using the Medieval sampler, and maybe I'll get some folks who want to come out and play and make a song together, which I think would be pretty cool. But yeah, for now, thank you if you did stick around and watch. I really appreciate it. And if you watch in the future, also appreciate that. I do apologize for some of the technical difficulties. And yeah, thanks for coming by. And please like and subscribe, all that stuff, and I hope to see you soon. All right.